Okay. So you know that in the case of the expansionary fiscal policy, you know that the expansionary fiscal policy refers to an increase in G or a decrease in T, and the contractionary fiscal policy refers to a decrease in G or an increase in T, right? So if I drew the diagram, then really for an expansionary fiscal policy, so if there is an expansionary fiscal policy, this aggregate demand curve moves rightward, and as it moves rightward, you can see that this gap is getting bridged because the real GDP is increasing, right? So in case of expansionary fiscal policy, the aggregate demand curve would increase or shift right, whereas in case of a contractionary fiscal policy, the opposite would happen. You have an inflationary gap, and in this case the aggregate demand curve would shift leftward, and you can see as a result of that the real GDP would go down. So in case of the contractionary fiscal policy, the aggregate demand goes down, and so the aggregate demand curve shifts towards the left. Okay, so that is how it plays out in the ADAS model, the expansionary or the contractionary fiscal policy. Okay, that is what we have here for the contractionary, for the expansionary and the contractionary fiscal policy. Now in the next video we will go on with the contractionary and the expansionary monetary policy. Now one thing for you to remember is that whether it is fiscal or monetary policy, it always will work through the demand side. It will always work through a shift of the aggregate demand curve. A fiscal policy or a monetary policy will never work through the supply side of the economy. It will always work through the demand side of the economy.